I think we're going to go through some significant changes in the next few years for, the evolution of some technologies that are coming into play that are just really hard to predict. AI being one of them. That's really, really hard to sort of predict what will be the impact of them. But whatever that impact is, it's probably going to be very substantial in terms of what the world is going to look like. The transition to solar power and clean energy in the next 10 to 20 years is likely to change things dramatically, likely to collapse the vast majority of the price of energy. There's also a number of different things where has been a lot of people that have made a great deal of money, and they're going to start giving back a lot of that money over the next 10 to 20, 30, 40 years. Right? Like people like Jeff Bezos, for example. These ultra wealthy individuals that they will actually start giving back some of this stuff. Right? Like many of them have made pledges with giving away their wealth, but many of them will probably yet to give a lot of this wealth away. So we're going to go through some really interesting transitions with this sort of advent of all these things coming together that we'll never experience or that we haven't experienced before. And what's going to happen is this change is going to be very, very scary. For many of us, we're not going to know what to do with it. Many of us are probably going to lose jobs. But what we have to sort of think about is, over the long term, the loss of jobs in one area usually translate into a gain in another area. We just don't really know what that looks like and what that might feel like and the experiences that we're going to go through, right? I suspect, in my view, we're probably going to be a lot more, even more democratized in the sense that we're going to have individual effects across the board a lot more. In particular, we'll find specific skill sets that we'll use, a sort of emergence of the sort of ad hoc work in the contract work that has been occurring over the years in increasing amounts. And I think we're going to see some really nice, interesting transitions that have a whole host of problems that are going to be difficult to recognize. Right? I think some of the things seem like obvious that we're going to experience, right? Like ChatGPT, right? Like how the heck are we going to write things anymore? But it's hard to understand what the implications actually are. And let me let me to explain this a little bit more. What I'm saying is that the implications of social media wasn't well known when it first emerged, right? This was a massive technology change where information, content creation was distributed widely, but the implications of it and how, both positive and negative, I think for the most part, there's been a lot of positive, but there's also been, definitely some negative that we're well aware of, right? Like overthrowing countries and all that kind of political crap. All of that was really difficult to forecast. I think we could have forecasted some of that, but some of the things were very difficult to understand in terms of the effects of, what's actually going to happen, right? The sort of advertising model that emerged from that and the sort of incentives. Those were, they were pretty predictable from the get-go, and I imagine lots of people sort of thought that potentially could happen, but I would have believed that we would have managed that better. And that would have been managed a heck of a lot more by companies. But that wasn't, right? There was almost like a free-for-all sort of push in the technology and not necessarily a lot of regulation about how to manage this. Now, there's lots of countries that have done this better than others. And we have to have this sort of conversation on what this means to regulate some of these things and understand what these things are. Now, AI and the emergence of many of these kind of technologies and these different trends are definitely going to sort of change the playing field, right? And we're have to think about what this actually means. Just even the fact of these very wealthy individuals giving a great deal of money to the sort of causes that they believe are important. Well, you would think that many of those causes are going to be positive and helpful, but there's many people that give to causes that are not so reputable and are not as comfortable, I guess, to many of us. And so we have to sort of think about what this actually means. What's the implications of this? How this is going to change? And frankly, it's a moving target. We don't quite know. And, these discussions will come up as these trends emerge. And I think we should keep an open eye, keep optimistic, but realize there's always costs. There's always what are called unintended consequences, things that we don't understand that are going to emerge from these different trends. But we have to be willing to embrace them. We can't go back. That's hard to do with new information, new technology, but we can certainly think about ways how to handle this in various productive and efficient ways going forward. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.